play is how we escape to a higher order. You need to be able to play with a problem to solve it.
If you're not clear on your purpose, mission, and vision, you're not clear on who you are, your business is going to grow in a direction that isn't congruent with who you really are.
If you have a very clear purpose, it's very difficult for you to get knocked off the course.
You guys had another founding partner. What happened with that?
Fortunately, it wasn't
right for him.
It wasn't right for him.
How important it is to have a logo?
You don't need a logo.
You should treat your organization as a growing, living organism. It's evolving and changing.
If you can't explain to me why you exist, I can't really get on your bandwagon with it. In the world that we're moving into now, we're not making content. What are you doing?
You can't become a master without a master.
And we started the wild ride of running a business.
Straight out of uni with no clients.
Zero experience, zero mentorship.
We were just making it work.
The worst advice you have ever received?
Get a job.
Yeah. I was about to say the same.
All right, team. Let me tell you, first of all, you look amazing. I love your style. I love the shirts. I love the hats, going fishing, and I love the lobster sandals. Tom, please show one of the sandals.
How do I do
Bring
this?
it up. Just bring it up. Look at that.
Yes, look at
The
these beautiful
lobster
things.
sandals.
Look at those.
How sick is that?
Comfort.
Beautiful.
Yeah, sick. All right. Well, if you're new here, my name is Nelson, and I'm the host of the Creative Grid podcast, a space committed to help creatives, entrepreneurs become successful in all areas of life. And we do that by inviting amazing, extraordinary individuals to teach us everything we need to know to achieve success. Today, we have two legends. It's the first episode in which I have two guests at the same time. So as you can tell, the space, we're making it work because it's pretty tight in here. But since we're family, it doesn't matter. We'll talk about that in a bit. But today's guests, they are creative entrepreneurs, they're podcasters, and they're founding partners of Wordplay Studio. Please welcome the legends, Tom and Rix.
Wow, what an intro.
Nelson?
How are you, team? Was that good enough? Good enough intro?
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
That was good. There's one thing you do is pump people up, and that's it. We always look forward to coming in conversation with you and just getting pumped up. So
Yeah, and you might say that like jokingly, but energy is everything, isn't it? Like if you carry energy around you that people feel connected to, and they feel like, you know what, every time I'm around this guy or this girl, like they pump me up, you know, I feel energized. I feel like I can take over the world. You'll want to connect with those people. You'll want to network, right? So it should be the same either for friends, for partners, for business relationships. Like every client that I work with, I'm excited to work with them. I bring my energy to our projects, to set, to whatever we're doing. And they're usually, you know, they reflect that energy back. They're like, you know what? Yeah, fuck it. We're doing epic stuff together, and it's awesome. So, Tom, Rix, can you give us a brief description of who you are and what you do?
Yeah, should I go?
Take it away.
Okay, so we are transformation designers. So basically what we do is we work with organizations to take them through a transformational journey, like whether that's a cultural transformation or a brand transformation or any kind of like complex problem solving. Digital transformations a lot as well. So you know, it's a collaborative design process. We've been trained in a design methodology called MG Taylor, where we bring groups of people together and design an event or a series of events to help them to collaboratively solve that problem.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
and we also do a lot of creative output too. So there's that side of things, the collaboration design and the problem solving, and then there's also the capability that we have in house to, you know, do campaigns, visual identities like branding, websites, you name it. We can create pretty much most things, or we have people like you in our network that we collaborate with to get things done.
Yeah, because we have worked together, and hopefully we'll be together in future massive projects. That's the plan. Can you tell us, how did you guys happen to meet each other? How did everything started?
Good question. We met, I think it was 2011, wasn't it? And we studied at Billy Blue College in Sydney, and I went there pretty much straight after school. Rix had a bit more life experience before getting there, which is another story in itself, I guess. But we got put into our first assignment of the 3-year degree together, doing a condom brand called Helmet, which we created, and I don't know what happened. We just never stopped working together. Pretty much from that moment onwards, we just kept going and stuck together through the 3 years of the course, and developed a friendship around work and projects. And ever since, we've been doing it. So that's like 12, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was a love at first sight, was it? Or love at first project? So like you guys go to uni together and all these things, and afterwards, how does the conversation of like, hey, let's go into business together happen?
Well, I think that happened a bit later. I think it was like we finished uni, and then I went off to do my beer stuff because I was really into craft beer. So I'd kind of started a craft beer brand and was working on that. And Tom had already kind of started doing design work. Kind of, it was a Jazz Cats thing, wasn't it? And then wordplay. Did you want to? Yeah,
wordplay kind of trend. Oh, yeah. I came from a street art graffiti sort of background, so I was sort of playing around with also like a little project. It wasn't really a business at the time. I was trying to be a business, but had absolutely no experience doing things. But we're making clothing and stuff, and then it started taking on clients at the same time, and sort of needed to break the clothing and the kind of image of being, I guess, graffiti / street art vibe to something more design focused, client focused. And this is going way back, so at the time it was much smaller kind of than where we are now. We've evolved, we've gone through so many evolutions of wordplay since then, but pretty much I reached out to Rix. Like, we're in contact, we're hanging out still anyway. We knew what each other were up to, and we knew we worked, like we tested the relationship, like we were already working together a lot before, so we just kind of trialed it out and set up Wordplay as a company in 2015 and started the wild ride of running a business. Yeah.
Straight out of uni with no clients.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Zero experience, zero mentorship, zero everything. Just
we had nothing.
Took the big leap.
Yeah, we were like doing all kinds of, we were just making it work. Like, we're working second, third jobs at the same time. Working out of like we're in Sydney at this point, working out of like Surrey Hills Library, and just like my living room, which was like like about the size of this room here, but it was like my actual place with my ex-girlfriend back then. It was like, so we were just like
making it
just
work.
going for it, going for it, and
Why do you call it wordplay?
Well, that's also an interesting one, because it's kind of evolved. Like, the original meaning. Originally, it came from Luke, who I was working with at the time, who was also one of the original co-founders of Wordplay back then. He came up with the name, and it was from a Tribe Called Quest song. You know, the rap group Tribe Called Quest, like 90s hip hop from New York, but they're sick. But we were really big fans of them, and there was this song called Wordplay, and I don't know why, it just stuck.
It just clicked.
And since then, it
really, really works. Like, there's all these things that have come to us through the evolution of our business that have just emerged, like, the lobster thing. But the word, like, just that wordplay, because of the work that we do, it's collaboration design. We're playing with words. We do a lot of work with purpose statements, logo design. And there's really this element of play that's very important because, for our work, there's a belief that play is how we escape to a higher order. You need to be able to play with a problem to solve it. You need to have fun with a problem to solve it. So it's kind of, it really works.
And there's been so many things like that, and like it's interesting because when you start going on the journey with the business, there's these little things that you pick up along the way that become really integral to your story, like the name, or like the lobsters, or like these little symbols or motifs and things that just sort of like, I don't know, naturally just pop up and you resonate with them, and then they just as you keep moving, you build more meaning into it over time the more you tell your story. So who knows? You know, Wordplay will probably, you know, ask us again in 10 years, and it'll probably mean something even more, you know, evolved than it does now.
So what does the lobster means?
Yeah, the lobster is a symbol of transformation. So that came to us. That one is around. A lobster is a soft, mushy creature that lives inside a rigid shell, and
which sometimes we eat.
Well, we don't eat lobsters.
I was gonna say, do you eat them or not?
No, actually, like when you talk to original peoples here from Australia, they don't eat their own totem. So we've kind of taken that on. We're not going to eat
I like that.
You got to take care of your totem and respect your totem.
Yeah,
but lobsters are not food for us.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, so yeah, they're a soft, mushy creature that live inside a rigid shell, and they'll be restricted in their growth at some point, you know, and they go through stress and adversity, and then they have to crack out of that shell. They're vulnerable, they're soft, they're squishy, you know, that they got to scuttle under a rock and kind of hide for a little bit and then wait to that new shell to harden. So, you know, and then they grow, they'll eventually outgrow of that one. So it's just really speaks to like transformation. You know, it's a constant process, the vulnerability and the stress and the adversity that's involved in that. And yeah, really speaks to the work that we do at Wordplay.
Yeah, and it's such a good metaphor, hey, for just life in general and what it means to be a human being, that sometimes you just have to go through the pain of change and you need to hold on, and eventually things will get better. Eventually you will have this new, you know, version of yourself that will allow you to continue to grow and explore new boundaries, you know, in whatever you're doing. So I really like the totem that you have of the lobster. I need to find one for myself.
We need
we'll
to
find you one.
I haven't thought of it, like, but when I hear you speak about the lobster, I'm like, fuck, I need one. I always thought about sharks. So I feel like I'm kind of like a shark or something, but
what if you stop, you die? You know those sharks, if they stop swimming, they
do they actually?
Yeah, they can't. They need to keep moving forward to have the oxygen come through their gills.
Oh, good to know. Then I'll be an orca. I'm not a shark, because they also eat sharks.
The lobster's just like exactly one of those things. It's like it just came out of Rix found this or got shown this video years ago, and it's just became this real significant thing. And obviously, like when you're running a business or you're an entrepreneur or somebody out on their own, you know, you can really empathize with the lobster, because there's a lot of times where you're feeling really uncomfortable. And that stress is, you know, there's good stress and there's bad stress, but stress is required to transform. You know, you get to a point where you're maxing out where your current situation, and you need to go through some sort of, you know, risky and stressful situation in order to grow. So it's like whenever you feel like you're kind of stagnant is usually the time when you're like, okay, it's time to make like a lobster and shed some shells.
completely. Yeah. So
as soon as you're not stressed, you know, there should be a problem. There needs to be
stress is good. The minute you start becoming familiar with stress and understanding like, oh, actually, stress is just playing on the same side as me. You know, it's pushing me to new levels and to new places and to new people and to new approaches. So having stress is good. If you don't have
good stress is good. Then
exactly.
Then there's the other side of it too. But
Exactly. There's that other stress that you shouldn't have. You know, you should have your ways of dealing with it, right? Talk to me about purpose, mission, vision, because you guys are experts on this field. So can you explain, first of all, what's the difference between the three of them, and why is it important for businesses and organizations to have a clear purpose, mission, vision?
I'll take it.
Go.
Well, it's something that, like, I think for us, it's been natural why we sort of specialize in purpose and mission and vision, this sort of stuff, is literally because that's why we started Wordplay in the beginning. It's like we knew we had something that was driving us that wasn't a financial outcome, or, you know, there's something greater driving us to create Wordplay in the beginning. That's why we never went and worked at other agencies, and we just had this sort of entrepreneurial flair, you know, this calling. So it's sort of like inherent in our lives. Like it's just kind of what, I don't know, you can probably trace it back to even like childhood and stuff, you know, just doing things yourself. And you know, I've heard stories about Rix as a kid too. Probably goes right back. But purpose is the reason why you exist. It's and there's two parts to it. It's the contribution you make and the impact it has. A lot of people get purpose confused. Like they say that they've got a purpose and then they say something that doesn't actually, it might be more mission orientated, like action steps or a future state. So purpose is why you exist. It's the reason why you get out of bed. It's it's not industry specific. It's the reason that really drives you and allows you to you know, it's your North Star, like Rix loves to say. Then your vision is the future state. So what the world look like once you've fulfilled your purpose. So you can't really come up with a vision, right, until you're clear on your purpose, or at least have a sense of it to be able to know where you're heading. And then your mission are the steps in order to get there. Then the more action orientated things, you know, that you can break off into more strategic and detailed steps in the plan, which can be a bit more malleable than the purpose and the vision are more, I guess, higher level, broad, like things that you're probably not going to change. It's like something like pure to you or pure to your organization of why it really exists, and it's not going to change whether if there's some big change in the world and you have to completely shift the way you work and the way you, like, your purpose will actually help you jive and change, help you come to solutions through that change and help you approach change because you're acting from your purpose. It's not, your purpose should never change based on your, you know, what's happening to you.
Yeah, it's not like an external thing, you know, it comes from internal. It's like what guides you to make decisions and things like that. And it's like, that really just forms the basis of a system. Like when you're designing a computer system or software system or something like that, you need like a start point and you need an end point so that the system can correct itself. You know, if you don't have that, you don't really have any kind of point of reference or context. And what Tom's talking about there, the mission, like the mission might change because you might have a certain mission this next 5 years or 10 years, but then maybe that evolves and changes over time. You know, the world is changing rapidly, exponentially, quickly. And so that might update.
Yeah, and why it's important is like it's a real, and we, you know, one of our core capabilities and passions is branding, you know, not just the what a logo is, but really what branding is. And branding for us is something really deep. It touches into identity, you know, as a people, as a group of people, like in an organization, or, you know, it's a tribal sort of thing. It's common belief, it's common language, it is symbolism, like your logo and your colors and things. It's the way that you're identifying and showing up in the world and with your common, you know, folk, with your people. So purpose, mission, vision really plays into that, because when you think of, you know, if you relate it to tribes or strong groups of people, that they have a very strong sense of purpose, why the group of people exists, why the tribe exists. And the more strong that is, the more strong their culture is. So really, you know, for us, we don't look at brand and organizations just from from that level of like, okay, you do your branding, it's a visual thing, you do this, it's simple. Like we really look at everything as a holistic system that works together, and it's really about identity. And your purpose, mission and vision is, if you're not clear on your purpose, mission and vision, you're not clear on who you are, and therefore your business is going to grow in a direction that isn't congruent with who you really are or where you're going. It's just a business to achieve some sort of outcome, like make money or get this many users or do these things, which are kind of like every business should have those things, but they're not the reason why you're in business. They're the key things that you need to have within a business, like, you know, money and goals and users or whatever it is. But it's not what is driving the business. It's not what's driving the culture of the organization. That's something much deeper and really taps into identity. And
it's like, if you don't have those things, your organization can essentially go through a midlife crisis, you know, like an identity crisis. We see a lot of that, actually. It's no different to a human being, you know. It's an organism. You should treat your organization as a growing, living organism. You know, it's evolving and changing and improving the whole way through. It shouldn't be left stagnant. And purpose is probably the biggest impact on your bottom line, because if you have employees, you know, if they're not engaged with the purpose is the biggest driver of engagement, especially this age with, millennials. That, if you hear about these stories or you listen to Simon Sinek talking, a lot of these millennials, they want to work in purpose-led organizations. So yeah, it's if you want to increase engagement, that's the go-to. And in fact, I just listened to this amazing podcast the other day, done by Oxford Business School and SIE Business School and Ernst & Young, and it's called 2050, and they're talking about some of these transformation projects, and they're saying that purpose is the one of the biggest reasons why certain transformation projects are successful is because they have a very clear purpose. And the reason for that is, and this probably is a good message for entrepreneurs who are just starting out, if you have a very clear purpose, it's very difficult for you to get knocked off the course, because you're like, why you're doing it. You have a very strong why. And you imagine that when you have a team of people on a transformation journey, which can be quite messy. It's not a linear process at all. Yeah. And it's very challenging, especially for leadership. And you don't necessarily have all the answers. You're learning as you go, and you're evolving as you go. So if you have a clear why that you can share with your team, and to be definitive about it, it means that you're going to stay on course, and you're going to believe, you believe in the process that you're going through.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Can you give an example? Because I really want people to understand the difference between these three, and maybe even take some time to just reflect on their own business or themselves. Like, okay, what's my purpose? What's the mission? What's my vision for it? So can you give the example of Wordplay and then maybe some sort of like Google or Apple example?
We can do that. So Wordplay's purpose is we exist to facilitate ectasis, so that together we realize our full potential. So that's our purpose statement. That's why we exist.
What's ectasis?
Ectasis is when a lobster sheds its shell, right? So it's about, enabling others to peel out of that old shell and to grow the new shell for them to grow, design the new shell for them to grow into.
Don't tell me you're not learning a bunch of words on this episode.
And that's the thing. That meant, in creating that purpose statement, because one of our values is love to learn, the fact that someone's learning something, it always inspires a question, the same question. What's ectasis? So you're already engaging in a dialogue by sharing the purpose statement. So it kind of works for us in the way. So we've been particular about the words that we choose. Potential, human potential, or full potential. That's a nod to our teachers who designed this methodology that we used back in the 1970s. That was the human potential movement was a really big part of that evolution of that method. So it was important for us to have that in there. So
also had a lot of great music of the time.
That's right. So our purpose, again, we exist to facilitate ectasis, so that together we realize our full potential. And that's us also learning. It's together. We're also learning. We're also realizing our potential by enabling them. It's a two-way, process. Yeah. Then our vision is planet Earth as a garden and work of art for all life. So that speaks to collaboration, us designing our future together as a society, as a global, citizenship, or, us together designing what we want the world to be, our future. And then our mission statement is we facilitate emergent co-design experiences that steward purpose, transformation, and new ways of working. So those are like the doing things. Those are how we actually do it. We do, purpose stuff. We do transformation. It's all about co-design. It's about emergence. It's not about forcing ideas or outcomes. It's about creating environments for those ideas to come to fruition. It's about group genius. It's about inspiring people to remember what they already know.
And these three pieces, and there's more to it as you get into it, but they will really work as a system, and you can't you can get the essence of your purpose, and for us, I don't know when we actually articulated our purpose, but it wasn't right at the beginning. It's a bit of a work in progress. It's a process of self-discovery as a human, as an individual, and as a group of people. If you're working in an organization and you're leading this kind of purpose, shift towards purpose and discovering it for yourselves, because it's something that exists already. You don't have to create your purpose it's already exists. You're just trying to take off the layers and get down to the core of why it really is that you're here, you know, the real essence of why you exist. And that really, like, it's cool because once you get it, it clicks and it works as a system. So when you have to look at it all together, you can't go, because your purpose might then be half, like a lot of times when we're facilitating people to do their purpose, it's a process of iteration. So, you know, we might get the purpose and then they might get a vision and a mission, and then it's kind of like, okay, but it kind of says a bit of this in the vision, which is more like a mission, and then it's like, okay, do another version. You refine it down until you get something where every word is speaking to a very particular thing. You know, words are spells, so we craft, like, these statements are really really designed and very articulate of something. It's making your real essence tactile in a way, or making it heard. Yeah,
being articulated for other people.
Able to articulate it, because once you articulate it, you know, then you can start manifesting things around it. If you can't explain to me why you exist, I can't really get on your bandwagon with it. But if you're really clear and you know exactly why you exist, and you're able to articulate that to people, then people can resonate with that and they go, oh yeah, I'm into that too. You're my kind of person. So yeah, it's a critical part of building an organization. We've invested a lot of time in ourselves doing that, as we should, because that's what we practice what we preach. And it's you can just dive into it, and every single word is really meaning something, but you know, you get there through iteration.
And clarity is fundamental in order to get whatever you want to achieve in life, right? Like, I know exactly what I want, and that's why I will get it, you know, because I have such a clear vision of the things that I will achieve, how everything will look like, the kind of car I will be driving, the kind of network I will have around me, the kind of things and services I will be providing for the world, you know, like the kind of people I'm aiming to help. So if you're not clear on anything you want to achieve, how can you even get there? It's like a boat that leaves the shore, and it's just gonna get lost in sea unless you know, like, okay, we're heading to X island. It doesn't matter how long it takes, it doesn't matter what's the route that we have to take, but we need to leave the shore. First of all, we need to be brave enough to leave the shore, and then have a clear vision of how that island looks like in order to get there. Otherwise, you're just gonna get lost. But let's say someone is listening to it and they're like, okay, I'm sold. I need to clarify my purpose, mission, vision. What are some steps to do that?
Well, they can join our Purpose Accelerator, which we're running this month actually. And we can share more. Maybe you can share more about that on the link or something. But there are some steps. I think there is a logical process to doing it. It is emergent, but there is kind of like a logical process, right? It's just kind of like the why statement, I think Tom mentioned before, was like, it's got two parts. It's got we exist to, the contribution you're making, so that, which is the impact that you're having. So if you can kind of just nut out, like, what's all the contributions I make as a person or an organization? Okay, these are all the things that I contribute. What's the impact that I'm having, you know, by that contribution? Okay, well, these are all these things, and I like to put them on cards, and then you can kind of just like match them up. You know, you can interact with it, play around with it, and you might find that there's things that just naturally glue together. You know, you'll see something that will jump out at you, and I think the real trick is to sleep on it. Sleep on it at least twice. And also, just allow yourself to have fun with it, and ask why. You know, keep asking why, like, to get to the essence of it. Because a lot of the times with purpose statements, people write the purpose statement, but it's kind of like more of a what. You know, that's the trick. It's like, okay, well, why are you doing that? And then once you kind of get through that enough times, then you'll be able to strip it back to get to the essence of it. Yeah,
and it also, you need to understand the definitions and how they work together, because, like I think I mentioned before, but it's really apparent everywhere. You see, you know, go on somebody's website, you click the About page, and it says, our purpose, to be the something, and it's like that's not. You can already tell that's not a purpose statement.
It's not a purpose.
That's some aspiration. It might not even be a vision statement, or it'd be just some other description of what they're kind of wanting to do with the business, which is not a purpose vision. Maybe it's a part of a mission. So it's really about understanding the definitions too, and learning from case studies too. A lot of the work we do with people is take them through what successful purpose-led organizations look like and how they got there and what their purposes are. So there's a whole bunch of amazing case studies out there, which we include in our Purpose Accelerator. We've got a whole resource library of things, but you can also check out our Instagram. We've got if you go back a little bit, there's a whole bunch of like old, like not old, but like tiles, different style that from what we're currently posting, which have a lot of breakdowns of purpose, mission, vision. I think you've checked them out before, haven't you?
Yeah.
So they're a good resource as well.
Yeah, it's just really like you got to kind of expand your thinking as well, like because you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that's created it. So like, as far as the vision goes, once you've got that purpose, and then the next step is to do the vision. But you've got to really stretch your thinking as to what that future could look like, because if you're doing it from now and you're not exploring, like bringing in all these ideas around what's going on, like at a lot of these events, like for example, at the World Economic Forum, there's a reason that they bring in futurists as part of the design team, and science fiction writers and things like that, because these people are exploring the future, technologies of today, what's the potential, what are the things, how far can we stretch the human mind. I mean, I'm not a fan of a lot of stuff that's going on there, but you can definitely see why they would do that, and I think that there's opportunity to do that in another context. But as far as a business goes, expand your thinking. Really kind of go to the future. Actually, a lot of the assignments that we write for vision statements are actually putting that person in the future, 40 years in the future, and actually writing a speech to peers or some kind of ceremony in that time frame, so that they're looking back. They're already creating the hindsight before they get there,
Okay.
And a lot of the work, when we've done this, we don't do it in our regular day-to-day environment. We've invested the time and resources or whatever it is. We've had many sabbaticals over the years. It's a very important part of the work, or our development as people and as business owners, is leaving the environment that you're in, going somewhere, like Rix is saying, to expand the thinking, some new, fresh environment. Usually we like to do it in nature, because that's a great way to just drop right into what's reality, and do that, because then you're really approaching it with a fresh perspective, and because you're gonna be limited in your, if you're in the same chair that you work at, trying to nut it out, that you do all your editing at, or writing all your emails, it's like you've got that playing out. Like you need to break that, step away, and really create the space for expansion, and the time, and invest the time and resources to do it properly, and not rush the process.
Yeah, cool. I'm curious about, you guys had another founding partner. What happened with that? Because I think it's always interesting to know, like, okay, why did certain relationship didn't work out? Some people might be listening to this or something, and they're very early in the process, and they may be about to start a business, or thinking of starting a business with a friend or a colleague or whatever. Like, what has been your experience first with that person that is no longer part of Wordplay, and then with each other, like working? Because obviously there's a different dynamic of doing it by yourself or doing it with a friend. So I'm curious to hear what happened first with that person, and then how hard, or how have you been able to keep running a business together as friends and stuff?
Hats off to you for being a solopreneur and English as your second language, and doing what you're doing here in Australia. Like,
thanks.
Because it's so different. Like I can't really imagine what it's like, because like we work as a team, like as a duo with our business. So you've always got somebody to bounce ideas off. So for you to do what you're doing, it's just like, that is the creative grit right there.
That is the creative grit. Yes.
But to answer your question, fortunately, it was early on in the piece, you know, I can't remember what year it was.
No, but there was a bit of a story there. Tom and Luke were really good friends growing up. They both grew up in Cronulla together, were childhood friends, and you know, they were kind of actually the ones who really started forming Wordplay in the beginning before I came on board.
Yeah.
And Luke's a really amazing designer, very talented, amazing illustrator, very creative guy. And then it's a very stressful thing and very challenging thing to get a business off the ground, and we had to go through so many evolutions. Like when you start with nothing, you're starting to build a portfolio for like cafes or like, you know, and you're doing it undercutting because you need to build the trust. So then you build a portfolio, then you got to burn that portfolio to build the next portfolio because you want to get the next clients up. You don't want these clients anymore. Then you're doing the same thing there, and then you're burning that one, then you're going up and you're burning that one. Now 8 years later, we're working on national brands, and you know, we just did some really great work for Surf Life Saving Australia, and we've been working in, you know, high stakes events and doing a lot of stuff. We just designed Australia's community refugee placement program. So we've had to build up to that, and it's taken a lot of toll, I think, on us, and we've really had to grow through it. But I imagine like in conversations with Luke, it just, and understandably, you know, it wasn't right for him.
It wasn't right for him, yeah. And we grew up together, like Rix is saying. So it was a natural progression through, like we used to have prior projects together, working on things in the street art scene, and you know, as I don't know, late teens, kind of early 20s sort of age bracket. And then I guess it gets to a point where you need to, you know, assess, are you really committed to this? You know, like for us, there's been times where we've questioned, or, you know, we're always kind of questioning who we are and where we're going. It's a constant process. So I think for Luke, it was just, it became clear for him earlier on, you know.
We're probably driving a bit crazy too, because Tom and I are very intense. But
we were also living together.
That was the other thing. But we decided to do...
Three of you living together.
So we decided, that was another thing that came out of a sabbatical, was Tom had this idea. He was like, we need to live together, because if we can't live together, how are we going to have a business together? So then we got this house in Erskineville, and we all lived together. And it was during that process of living together that Luke was like, I'm out.
Yeah, I thought it would just either speed up the process of what was inevitable, or it would make us just stronger than ever. It would either make us break or make or break. And it was, you know, everybody thought we were nuts doing it. You know, anyone I knew was like, what the fuck are you guys up to? And I was like, no, trust me. But, you know, and that really did intensify things. And, you know, we've... you know, and like Rick said, we're kind of intense, so we kind of thrive in intense environments sometimes. You know, we got to learn to pare it back sometimes, with especially with projects and things. And sometimes.
Clients, like we can be a bit bullish on things, and it, you know, can be a bit really, much.
Really passionate.
But yeah, that was it, and I think that, you know, that served its purpose. That experiment. Tom and I still live together. We still work together, as you know.
Yeah.
Any tips for anyone that would do something similar to this? Okay, I'm going to work with a friend. We're going to start a business together. We're even considering maybe moving together. What are tips that, from your experience, will save them pain and, you know, help them to actually thrive together?
So I would say that's the same as any relationship. You know, it's like... That's why this purpose, mission, vision stuff is really important. It's like, what's the shared vision? What's the shared vision of the organization? Even it might evolve over time, but and that you might iterate on that. But it's like, get clear on why you're there and where you're headed, so that you can keep the thing on course. And I think it's also around articulating values, and it's also resolution, like how you actually resolve conflict and when things happen.
Important. And
like being able to talk it out when things do happen, and creating safety for that to happen.
Or doing jiu-jitsu if it requires that.
Strangle each other.
But yeah, that's it. We also, through that process where Luke left the business, we also got like a marriage counselor, this lady Diana.
Marriage counselor. Okay.
Yeah, well, she is really. I think she's like a counselor. She's like a marriage counselor.
Not a business mentor.
No, she does.
Marriage,
She
I
was
guess.
into business. She was like a business but I think she dealt with couples.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, she's cool. She helped us. You know, we had individually we had sessions, then we had group sessions with her. So we kind of did it in a way like we got a facilitator to help us through that.
To successfully sort of separate it.
Yeah.
What was the best advice she gave?
Oh, I don't know. Well, she gave us that world play thing. That was probably the best thing that came out.
What is that?
That was later. Oh, that was later.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a bit off topic, but she goes, no, like we were talking about our brand and everything. She goes, no, you guys aren't wordplay, you're world play. You're world play. And it's got me thinking about some other spin-off things that we could do in terms of collaboration, you know.
Yeah.
Do we start a people's forum? Do we start a world people's forum where we can create opportunities for us as you know, people, citizens of planet Earth, to design the future rather than these crazy people in Davos? But anyway, but I don't know. Would she give us any good advice?
Well, I feel like
she even did a good job.
She did a good job.
She did a great job. I think it was very wise of us in the first place to get an external person to facilitate the process, because she allowed everybody to say what they needed to say. She facilitated a few conversations with all three of us at the table like this, going through the motions and sharing how each, like, first we sat down with her individually, then she brought us all together to voice, just be heard basically by everybody. Like, you couldn't butt in and jump in on top of somebody. It was like, okay, you've had your time to say what you need to say. And that, I think, really was important. And you know, and just in general, like investing in things like that, whether it's like coaches or, you know, whatever, trippy people that will give you some crazy insights, like, you know, there's so much. I find like that so important. Like, when you look back at these moments where you've got somebody to help you get through something, is always valuable. I find, you know, every time that, you know, personally or with Wordplay, we've engaged somebody externally to help us, you know, transform, shed the shell. It's always worth it than trying to do it yourself, because you can't really see the forest from the trees a lot of the time. So yeah, I back that all the time.
Yeah, and teachers, you find teachers come to you like through, like we've just had the craziest hero's journey with our methodology, meeting our teachers and things like that. It's pretty crazy how people, you know,
it just happens to appear at the right time.
Yeah.
When you're on the path, when you're on the journey, that it has happened exactly the same for me since I decided, you know, which decision you talked about it in a podcast, it means to kill every other option. When I decided, okay, this is what I'm doing, I'm making videos, I'm gonna make a full-time living out of this, of telling stories. It just happens to be that eventually you start meeting your mentors along the way. And at the time, back then, I didn't see them as mentors. Now I look back and I reflect on, I'm like, that was a mentor right there. I should have maybe asked more questions or this or that or whatever. Now I'm more, because of the learning experience, I'm more aware.
Yeah.
Once you get awareness, self-awareness is everything. Your mind and being aware of who you are, where you're going, what you're doing, and meeting the right people that will tell you the things that you don't know. It's one of the biggest secrets of get to where you want to get. It's meeting the people that can tell you the shit that you just don't know.
Get the torch out and shine them in those shadows.
Yes.
But our teachers, like Matt Taylor, like I can tell you a little bit of story about that because it was pretty amazing. But he when they talk about mastery, you can't become a master without a master. You can't, because it takes multiple lifetimes of knowledge to gain mastery that gets passed down. So you can't have mastery in one lifetime.
Yep.
So it's like, so if you're going to train if you do jiu-jitsu and you're just going to train with white belts and you never roll with a black belt, you're not going to get the level of mastery. It's not going to happen.
You're going to stay stagnant at some
That's
stage.
right. And you don't know what else is out there. You don't know what you don't know. But with our journey, we were very lucky. We created that opportunity for ourselves at where we got incubated at the Michael Crouch Innovation Center at UNSW. And, we were working out of Surrey Hills Library, and there was an opportunity where we could design some marketing collateral for this new innovation centre that was starting up at the MCIC. And so we did that. They were very impressed with the work that we did. And then the COO there, Brad Ferber, who's this VC from Seattle, really awesome guy, he gave us the opportunity to be on the incubation program. And then within a week or so of being there, Matt and Gail Taylor, who are these master designers, transformation designers, just incredible. They're in their 80s now. Mm. They pretty much are like the grandmother and grandfather of co-design. And there's a big story and history there. But they actually ran a 3-day design shop at the MCIC within our first week. Mm. And we got to be participants, and our minds were just blown by the experience that we had. We really grew in those 3 days, and we couldn't believe what had just happened. Mm-hmm. And we had no idea who they were. Mm. They're just incredible. He's Matt Taylor he used to work with Frank Lloyd Wright, who's a really famous architect, building big buildings in New York City, and Gail was a Montessori school teacher. Mm. So they had this method which was around bringing those, the design together with this element of play and emergent learning, and, creating design processes and frameworks and all this other metaphysical stuff, from that human potential movement, all that hippie stuff like metaphysics. And Buckminster Fuller was a really big influence. They were very good friends, actually. So, yeah, we got to meet these incredible teachers. And then, meanwhile, we didn't know that all these big accounting firms like PwC, KPMG, Capgemini, Ernst & Young, they're all using this methodology. They all have this particular part of their business, accounting firms, that use MG Taylor. And there's a big network of MG Taylor practitioners around the world. So pretty incredible.
Awesome. Yeah. I wanted to ask you guys as well, because I know you guys do logos as well for clients and that type of thing. How important it is to have a logo, and if someone doesn't have a logo, what would they look in when they need a logo? What's the process for it?
That's a good question. Technically, you don't need a logo. You don't really. Just going back to the example earlier is do tribes have logos? They don't have logos, but you can identify them from a distance. You can go, oh, there's one of those, people from that place and something about them just by their appearance, right? So logos are kind of the very, in today's world, you do need a logo, but there's even your friend company IMG, right? They don't have an actual logo or something.
They have a logo,
but they got
multiple logo.
So it's not
it's a type. It's more like a type. It's not a logo mark, but they have a type.
But I guess the point is, it's that you can have a logo like Apple, or you can have a logo that's really kind of interchangeable or dynamic depending on your purpose and your mission and your core values and your belief system and how you want to be perceived. So, for us, it's the logo is one part, and in today's world, you need a logo for your whatever you're making or on your website or whatever, or a name or something. But really, logos come from, originally branding is from farming, when they would just brand their animals with a brand, a cattle brand. So you could identify whose farm that belongs to, that cow or that herd of animals or whatever. So really that's the beginning of a logo. And then now that's a logo where that was then called a brand. And now a logo is a part of your brand, and a brand is something much broader than your logo. So your question is, do you need a logo or how do you go about it? Yes, you need a logo, but it's not just, don't just think about your logo. Your brand is so much more than your logo. It's really everything. It's your reputation. It's how you are perceived. It's yourself. It's how you express yourself is your brand, through your language, through your colors or your type or whatever it is, the actual actions you take within your business, the kind of industry you're in, it all, and again, it all just comes back to your purpose. That really should be driving all these things. So, that's how we approach it. We design logos, we've designed plenty of logos, but usually we're designing, cultural transformations or identity transformations that tap into the brand and then have a logo as part of that execution. So
yeah, cool. What has been the hardest part of the journey since you guys became creative entrepreneurs? Like what was the hardest roadblock besides, like, I'm guessing your founding partner leaving? Like, what has been part of the journey that you were both looking at each other like, holy shit, are we gonna make it out of this?
I mean, that goes in waves too. I mean, obviously COVID was a massive hit to us because we were doing a lot of work in person, and we were working on big design forums in person, wheeling in mobile environments, and traveling, doing a lot of traveling, and then obviously things changed, but it ended up for the better because we were very lucky through our connection to our network and teachers who were very much at the forefront of this world of design and transformation, who then started going into, online events. So we basically learnt a whole new modality around, we basically had to turn everything to a TV studio. So that was a big, I think, challenge that we overcame and actually ended up for the better in the end. It was we've become stronger from it. But I think another one was probably social media and like trying to putting ourselves out there, because social media was something that we didn't really invest in like we should have. We knew we should have. We talked about it so often, even from early on. We tried different things, but we would do something and then we would get scared and we wouldn't actually
you wouldn't prioritize it. And the fear would probably drive why it's not prioritized at the top of the list, like the content, because we've just got this crazy, like we've only told you a little bit today, but we've got like so much over the 8 years. You can imagine how many stories there are in versions. And it's like, we don't really have the track left behind us on the social media platforms that we could have, and we're really diving into that now. So totally back that. And I always say that, like, now it's in the world that we're moving into now, where content is just like, if you're not making content, like you're talking about this more than anyone. It's like, what are you doing? And the more we just keep going in this direction, this world becomes more and more digital, and social platforms are just keep evolving. Look at what's happened with all these platforms, Twitter and TikTok and everything, just keep and Instagram Reels and everything. It just keeps changing and evolving, and it's a great tool for businesses to connect and find your people, find your clients, which solves so many other problems if you're not doing it. Because when you're not doing that, you're kind of like, that's when
you're in an echo chamber of nothing. Like no one knows what you're doing.
You're inconsistent with clients. You don't know where your next one's going to come from. People don't perceive you as an expert because they just haven't seen you talk enough. So it's like we're really getting more and more invested in that now. But I think also just stress in general is a big challenge with running a business.
It's also, like you said, it's a motivator.
It's a motivator.
But
it's like, you got to manage it. You got to manage your stress, because there's so many things you can grab at that can relieve your stress temporarily, but they're probably not the things that are going to help you in the long run.
A good example for that is like, I studied dentistry, right? And back then they taught us, like, when you have toothache, you can do certain things to alleviate the pain, but that's not really going to solve the problem. You actually need to get in the tooth and fix it. So it's the same thing for business and things like that. There's things that will generate pain, but until the pain is strong enough, you won't do something about it. So when you get clever and you're like, wait, I don't need for this thing to add more stress to my plate. I'm already too full. I can just fix it right now before it becomes bigger.
But even one level further, that's a symptom. A toothache or like a hole in your tooth is a symptom of some systemic problem. Eating too many sweets, not brushing your teeth, grinding your teeth, or like whatever it is. So it's like, okay, well then why am I doing those things? It's like, so even then, getting deeper into actually working out the root cause, no pun intended, but like of what's actually going on.
Yeah, no, totally.
And you look at like the most successful, I guess the people that I regard as the most successful for me, people that I, look towards aspirationally, have their business, they're good at business, but it doesn't end there. They've got their health together. They've got their family together. Yeah. They're not looking like they've been up all night and just got a massive cup of coffee in their hands. It's like, because and I think earlier when I was younger, is that, you'd idolize the success or like of the business side of things. But then when you start moving through it, you're like, oh, okay, none of that really matters. Like your health is number one and your relationships. Yeah. And then if you can get those together, then your business is going to get better anyway. So it's like, just really looking after yourself and constantly evolving. We're always doing it, like even right now, we're on a cleanse, and you just got to keep because it's so quickly everything can unravel. If you get really busy, you got to go traveling, you start eating shit, you have a few bad sleeps, and then next minute you're stressed, and it's not healthy. You're on the unhealthy end of the spectrum, and you haven't trained, and all these things start to fall apart. And so it's like always just being proactive and fine tuning yourself to be at your best, performance, and have enjoy the process. Yeah. So you're not just reactive in living this life where you're just like, gosh, like it's just so hard, Yeah.
I was talking to one of my best mates recently, and we have our lives in order. Everything is in order, but we're not millionaires. That's the one thing. But I told him, I don't care how long it takes. I have a goal of when I want it to happen before 35, but I'm prepared for a long game. If it doesn't happen for 10 years, 20 years, whatever, I'm here for the entire journey, But every other area of my life, I stay on top of it. I don't want to become a millionaire tomorrow and be overweight, unattractive, with no friends, not being able to defend myself or anyone around me, not being wise, not being articulated, like not having any status, maybe not even influence. Like, why would I want that million? That million is money is just an amplifier. It's just a tool and an amplifier. So if you're a dork, you're gonna be a massive dork. If you're a legit savage and someone that has his life together, you're gonna be someone that is gonna actually make a difference in the world, because then people will look at you and be like, you know what, that's a role model. I want to be like that guy. He's fit, he's smart, he's wise, he has a strong network, he makes money, he has good relationships. So like, to me, the way I see it is like, you have to pay attention to every area of life. I think for me, now is that I realized okay, finance is the one that I need to give my attention to. But for over 20 years, I've been working on my fitness, on my health, on my mind. And it's a constant progress. You can always get better. So you can't never look at you and be like, yeah, I'm done. I'm the fittest I can be. I'm the smartest I can be. I'm such a legend. I just need the money. No, you need to always at the same time you're pursuing whatever you're lacking in your life. Because for some people it might be they have the money, but they're completely unathletic or they're unhealthy, so they have to now get in line with that. So
Bill Gates is a good example of that.
So and always remember as well, it's easy to go in places like social media and look at someone and he's like, fuck, that guy has everything, he's fit, he's tall, he has girls, where he has money. I guarantee you there's an area of his life that he's working on. You just don't know about it. He doesn't show about it, or it's just a fallacy. It's all for shows, whatever. Yeah. So just focus on your own journey and analyze every aspect of your life and see, where do I need to work on? Where am I lacking? And just get to work. That's it. What's the best advice you have ever received? Each one of you.
Gosh.
Oh, wow.
That's a big question.
Advice.
In here, we make the guests think. Yeah. It's one of my goals. Make humans think for themselves.
I think for me, the thing that just first comes to my mind, and it's been something that I've been working on a lot, particularly over the last couple of years, is trusting yourself to really, because when you're talking about explaining this person you were just explaining, you know, like it has all these areas of their life together and they're strong, and you know, it's like a lot of that is really trusting yourself and listening to your intuition and because the more I learn to trust myself with all in so many areas of life, you know, and it's like it's everywhere, you know, all these little things, the more fun you have and the more you're you know. So it's a very complicated process, like self-discovery and self-development, you know. There's so many parts, you know. First finding your purpose and coming up with a dream, a vision, and then it's like, okay, that's great, I know these things, and then it's like, how do you then, you know, then you've got to get out there and actually back yourself and get to work, you know. And you can struggle through that process if you're not fully, I guess, just in trust with yourself. And you can still be really successful, but it might be a really painful process getting there. Or you still have, you know, insecurities and things that you're still, you know, trying to work out. But when you're kind of really just tapped into like that really, you know, essence of who you are, things just flow and everything's fun and easy. So I feel like it's just, learning to trust yourself, and it's a process for me anyway.
I think for me, I mean, I've had some really amazing teachers. I've got there's probably heaps of things, but I think something that I think is really valuable is around this whole idea around knowledge, and our teacher Matt talks about it, this idea of this pyramid of knowledge, you know, and constantly, because we just take on things all the time that we hold to conviction that are truth. We think they're truth, and then that forms the reality that we live in. So, and sometimes these things are really sneaky and they just kind of, you know, slip in there, and then they form your reality. So then you end up looking through this lens of all these things that you think you have conviction that are truth. And so, you know, I think that it's wise to constantly be evaluating your beliefs and what you know to be true, and be open to exploring other ideas and how you even came to even have that belief.
Yes.
You know, was it a first-hand experience? That's level 1 on the pyramid of knowledge. You've actually experienced it. Was it a layer 2? Was it something that maybe, you know, someone close to you, or it was peer reviewed, or it's reasonable to assume that it's true? Or is it a layer 3? Is it something that you just saw, you know, on the news or whatever, especially in this age of media?
Yes.
Because what does Matt say? He goes, you know, it's reasonable to believe that Ronald Reagan was president, because at that time it would have been very difficult to fake a presidency in the White House. It would have just been so difficult to do that. But this age of media, where we've got, you know, videos and deep fakes and all, you know, movie sets and all this kind of stuff that's going on, and very, you know, powerful agendas, and it's like, you know, we need to be a bit more discerning around our belief systems and what lens we're viewing the world from.
Yeah, I think that's a key one. That's very important, like understanding that everything you think you know and the reality through which you perceive the world is your own little world, and you have to break it apart and see, okay, why do I think the things I think of? You know, why do I think that becoming a millionaire is impossible? You have to break that apart. Who told you it was impossible? You know, who told you that you're not deserving of it because you're from a Venezuelan? You know,
a big part of it is the self beliefs too. Like, you know, there's the external beliefs, and then it's like what you've told about yourself of what's possible and who you are is all just totally open for interpretation too. You've made those choices from reactions to things that have happened to you, but that's not actually
decisions. You've killed all other options around how you see things. You get tunnel vision, you know. If you do that, you can't really see what's around. But I had a perfect example of this the other day. I was walking past this place in just back here in Cooley. Like, it's a nice, we live in an amazing place,
as good as it gets.
Right. So I was walking past this house, and there's like this lady there, and this house is just like trash everywhere. Like, you know, just the house you could just see was like full of shit, and there's just like, broken trampolines, you know, probably dead dogs and shopping trolleys and all sorts of stuff outside the house. Meanwhile, the neighbour's house is beautiful. It's across the road from these tennis courts. And I'm like, hello. She goes, hello, welcome to the ghetto. And I'm like,
yeah, welcome to the hood. Yeah.
I'm like, but it's just obviously her mindset. Meanwhile, she's living in this beautiful neighborhood, and but her house was like that.
Trashed, yeah.
So I'm like, wow. I took a photo. I'm like, I have to. This is just such a great example of like mindset. Or whatever.
Yeah. You have to switch to an abundance mindset for sure. And yeah, that's
and environment. How much environment
contributes,
is we create our environments, and then the environments that we create us. So it's like, if you want to change something in your life, the best thing you can do is change your environment. That's why when we do these company sabbaticals and design shops and things like that, we actually purposely build environments for the work. So it's all part of the feedback loop.
I'm very surprised about that, because now that I'm thinking, you know, that house is surrounded by just gorgeous houses and wonderful people all around and whatever. And this person doesn't want to change. So it's the same works for people. Like, you can surround, if you want to get to the next level, you need to find people that are doing the things that you want to be doing at the next level. You need to surround with those people. So if I want to become a blue belt, I need to start training with blue belts and understand that new level, right? In jiu-jitsu. But then it will only happen if I actually want to change, if I actually want to level up, because then guess what? I can always quit. I can stop showing up to the gym. I can stop putting the effort and then never get my blue belt. It's the same thing for business. It's the same thing for this lady in the house. At some stage in her journey, she was like, fuck it. Like, this is just not possible or whatever, or she gave up, and she's like, you know what, I don't even need to take care of my house or anything, you know.
It's the ghetto anyway.
Yeah, it's the ghetto anyway. So now that's crazy. Yeah.
Willingness, what you're talking about is willingness. You need to be willing.
Yeah.
Without will, it's not going to happen. Change won't happen.
Yeah.
You're in resistance.
Yeah. So,
and it's so complicated, all this stuff. Like, we've had at length conversation recently around this, you know, just the trauma and the complications that exist in the world right now. And it seems to be just compounding, especially after things like lockdowns and kids not going to school and you know, all these very deep psychological, you know, disruptions to people's lives on top of what's already going on. And you know, it's crazy, but it's like, you need to go on that hero's journey and challenge your beliefs. Look outside, look inside, and get in tune with why you're here, to be able to be at you know, being in your power and doing your thing, rather than the world just triggering everything within you, and you're just living by a product of this crazy, you know, context.
Now what's the worst advice you have ever received?
Get a job.
I was about to say the same. Quit. Don't do it. And I would always be like, nah, I'm doing it.
Get a job. Why is that the worst advice you have ever received?
I don't know. Maybe it's good advice, but gosh, you know, it's just like, what are you going to do? I would not be able to hold a job anyway. I'm too opinionated. I reckon I'd get fired straight away. But you're not on your own. You're not driving your own ship when you have a job. Okay, fair enough. If you're aligned, like, with somebody, and you're aligned with their purpose, great. You know, that's also a good thing to do. You know, you jump on board with their purpose, and work as a team. That's fine. But like, I think when you're driving, you're going through this journey. You're going through this journey of discovery of yourself and the challenges that you're facing. You're developing as a person. You know, so I think getting a job would be nice. You know, you're comfortable. You've got a bit of like security and safety and whatever, and that seems nice. But I think you kind of miss out on the adventure of
your full potential.
The journey, you know, but you can still get that in an organization, obviously, if you're aligned.
Wow.
And you can learn a lot of lessons. What?
Oh, I was just trying to remember what St. Paul Check says about that. It's like, he talks about goals, but he goes, if you or dreams, he goes, if you don't have a dream of your own, you're just, it's like
you're working for someone else's dream, whether you know it or not.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, if you're, whether your dream is, it depends on what your dream is, but if your dream's to, if you're in a job and you hate it, and that's what you're doing, and you're going to work resentful every day, and you know that you have some more in you to do something, this dream you've had, but you're not doing it. It's like, you're just, what are you doing? It's like, but if, like Rick is saying, if you're totally fulfilled and you're able to pull up your own little speedboat onto this other company's ship and drive it together,
learn
it's
a bit
story.
and make some networks. And I mean, like, not do what we did by like starting a business with no portfolio.
But it's like
same thing.
Being true, like true to yourself. Like, because for us, it's like, that's the journey we took. We went the kind of hard route, I guess, in a way. Like, there could have been, in hindsight, many other ways to go, but
because now you know better.
At the time, what we knew and what we like the views we had on ourselves and our beliefs then, I was like, all right, we're going like this right now.
That links with the next question, which is, what are 3 pieces of advice you will give to young creative entrepreneurs to make their lives and the business journey easier?
Gosh, easier.
Get a coach. Get coaching. Get somebody that's done it already. Have them, or a mentor. But you need that perspective of somebody that is going to help you process your decisions. I think that's a big one.
Maybe don't wait before you start documenting. Document and share from the very beginning. Bring people on the journey.
Yes.
Tell the story. It might evolve. The business might change. Start working on your personal brand early on, I think, as well, like as part of that.
Yep.
Because I think that's something that I wish we did. Like, if we'd had 8 years of our own stuff on, like, our own personal brands,
everything,
we would have just been in a completely different place to what we are now. But and
that ties into like sharing what you're learning, because I think a lot of people, me included, perfectionism stops people from creating, and perfection is the enemy of progress. So it's like needing, and Gary Vee talks a lot about this stuff, it's like needing for the ideal moment and the best camera equipment and all the good bells and whistles in order to start your journey or be an expert in a field. You don't need to do that. You actually just need to be transparent and document your process of your evolution, because that's what people resonate with. When I was talking about this yesterday with a friend. It's like with an artwork, an artist, you see the end painting and it's a great painting, but when you see what's gone into the painting, the sketches, the learnings, what's on their bookshelf, what are they reading, it's like, that's really where you get inspired and you see how that painting came to be. So it's just like, just getting into it and not letting any excuse kind of stop you.
Don't let other people try and tell you what's best for you either. Just stay true to yourself and give it a go. And you might fail a few times, but you might not.
You will fail a few times, so just embrace failure.
100%.
That's the biggest thing. Like, embrace failure. As soon as you do that and you see failure as part of the game, that you're gonna take some shots and you're gonna miss, that's completely fine. Someone gave insane stats about Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods, and Miguel Cabrera and all these massive sports legends, of how many shots they took, whether it was from basketball, soccer, golf, whatever sport you can think of. They took thousands, millions of shots, more than the average player. And that's the difference. That's why they score more. That's why they became such entity, and successful human being.
They also had great coaches.
Yes, as well. Yeah, no, I think you guys were spot on those advices, like 100%. Get a mentor. I wish myself I got someone earlier on the journey. Like, I even tell the guy that's working with me, like, man, you just having access to someone like me right now, that's exactly what I needed when I was your age. I would have been who knows where by this stage. So yeah, guys, I love this conversation. We're going to have to do a second round. If people want to know more about you or get in touch or even listen to your podcast, because I forgot to mention, but we're producing the podcast for them as well, Design and Purpose. Where can they find you?
They can find us online, obviously our website, wordplaystudio.com. They can find us on social media at Wordplay Studio on Instagram. We've also got our podcast at Design on Purpose on Instagram and TikTok. What else? Personal at Rix Lee.
At Tom Cat with triple T on the Tom and the cat. I always wonder how to explain that. And
what about the Purpose Accelerator?
Yeah. Talk to us about it. Talk to us about it.
Do you want to go for it?
Well, it depends when this episode's getting released. It's probably a few weeks off, right?
It's like 3 weeks, roughly. That's
cool anyway. But we're going to be running these sorts of things probably from now on in some sort of sequence. But we've got the first Purpose Accelerator. It's an 8-week online intensive for entrepreneurs or small business owners, or it could even be people that are just starting out on their journey that really want to invest in discovering their purpose, mission, vision, and values. And that's sort of the first step of the 8 weeks, maybe the first sort of half or third. And then we also move into some more action-based stuff too around building a strategy on top of that foundation of your purpose, mission, vision.
Messaging, working out your offerings. Even like we could even get into some deliverables like wireframing websites and just kind of, it's going to be emergent. So we're going to help people along
Content
the journey.
Pillars, you know, brand identity stuff, just really offload and share, you know, our knowledge and like you're saying, like having in that kind of way where you wish you knew somebody in that point in your life where you need access to all this information. We're gonna just give it all to whoever takes part in the accelerator. We love what we do. We love working with entrepreneurs and creatives. A lot of the work we do that we'll be doing in the accelerator is what we do for big organizations. So it's a great opportunity to get access one-on-one or in a group environment with Rix and myself, and also work together with entrepreneurs. So there's going to be a group of people, a small group, and it would just be a great opportunity to learn and share and network a little bit too. So yeah,
that's awesome. All right, guys, make sure to follow them and support them and join the Purpose Accelerator if that's something that will help you right now in your journey. And don't forget to follow us at The Creative Grid on every social platform. I'm at Nail for Life, and we'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye to everyone. You. How's that? Was it good? Boom.
Nice one.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. Very stoked, guys. Happy we did this.